There are so many projects to be done, so many books to be written, and so many experiences to enjoy. And yet, we spend so much of our free time on our phones. How often did you try to delete a social media app or do a detox only to re download it 3 days later? It's time to quit our phone addiction and to stick to our promises after all. In this episode, we'll touch on, well, how to stay off of your phone, how to reduce screen time, and also about the mindset change so that you won't fall back into your old habits next weekend. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Big Sister Chats. Before we dive into the episode, there is a small chapter called If We Were Having Coffee. This is our format where I tell you a little bit about what's been going on in my life lately, and it's inspired by a newsletter from the Bliss Bean, if anybody knows her. So, if we were having coffee, I would tell you that I just came back from a much needed holiday. I spent 1 week in Marseille and another week in Croatia, and basically was just sightseeing and beach days, a lot of swimming, and a lot of reading. I would tell you that I found a cast and a crew for my first short movie that I'll tell you more about that in another episode. It's called Opsis, but that's about it. And I would tell you that I finally got myself an e-reader, and I still very much enjoy having physical copies, but I realized that it's actually really smart to have an e-reader for traveling, because books, or at least the books I read, they're like 800 pages, something like that, big fantasy novels, and it makes a lot of sense to keep them in here too. It was a great idea. Now, if we were having coffee, I would also love to hear about your stories. And actually, I think Spotify has a new feature now where you can comment directly under the episode, or you can let me know what's been going on in your life lately over on YouTube or Instagram.
I swear.
Welcome to Big Sister Chats, the podcast where we dive into all things mental health, physical well-being, and cultivating a positive mindset. Whether it's about growing in life or tackling everyday challenges, I've got you covered. Growing up with 3 brothers, I always wished I had another woman to turn to for advice. If you've ever felt the same way, you're in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, but somehow some people seem to achieve much more than others. Most of us do have at least some time that we could be spending to do things that we love, or to work out, or to work on our goals. But instead, we scroll on Instagram for 2 hours or something like that. We're going to fix this today. Stick with me and let's get right into it. First, let's do an audit and check just how much time we are spending on our phones. You can check your settings for your screen time. Just type that into the search bar and you'll find your own screen time. When you're looking at these numbers, I mean, at first I was shocked by mine, but I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. First, on which apps do you want to cut back on your screen time? What doesn't count for you, like Spotify, or maybe where can it even be useful, like Duolingo? And when do you use your phone when you could be doing something more productive or fun, like after work? Then, for me, my screen time was something between 4 to 6 hours on average per day, and I definitely wanted to reduce my screen time for Instagram and TikTok and maybe also YouTube. But I do use Instagram to message friends of mine, writing groups, and I also publish content, which means I cannot really delete the app fully. And because I'm not working on the weekends, I would like to use that time to work on personal projects and to spend time with my friends. And in the past, I often ended up with very little screen time during the week. And then Saturday rolled around and my screen time was up to like 10 hours. Not good. Not good at all. Now, do your own audit, and that's what we're gonna work on. So here are my practical tips for staying off of your phone. First one is grayscale. You can basically put your phone in black and white mode, and you can either do this all day, like forever, or you can put a fixed schedule. Most phones can do that nowadays, so that your phone will automatically go into grayscale mode, let's say at 5 in the afternoon. So you're reminded, oh, okay, now I should actually be doing something else than being on my phone. Or maybe this is also useful at like 8, 9, whenever you're going to bed, like an hour before bed, that you're putting your phone to grayscale mode. So you know, like, oh, now I shouldn't be on my phone anymore. So that helps a lot already. And I'm not sure how this is on Android, but for iPhone, you can set different modes like work, do not disturb, sleep, and so on. And I like to set work mode every day from 7 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon, which makes a lot of sense because then I am not getting any messages, basically. And I feel like it's even more helpful to me on the weekends because during the week I'm at work anyways and I'm not looking at my phone. Maybe in lunch break once if I know it's something important, but I don't use my phone. And on the weekends, it can be distracting, let's say that way. When I'm seeing some messages, I'll unlock my phone, that's for sure. So it helps a lot to me that I'm not getting any messages for some time. And there's also a feature where you can stack messages. For Instagram, for example, I'm getting all the messages every day at 4. So of the past 24 hours, I'm getting them all together at 4, and then I'll check them whenever I see them. And 24 hours is still a very good time for me, I think. A good time span. But you can also do like 2 times a day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, or something like that. Whatever works. And it's also a good idea to disable the messages that you don't need. I mean, these apps, they're sending you messages for everything. When I think of Instagram, I'm getting messages like, oh, this person followed you, and this person liked your post, and this person saw your reel or whatever. It's a lot of messages, and I don't need to know that. I personally want to keep like direct messages, so like I can see when my friends are messaging me, but everything else I just turn off because I don't need to see that. And when I log into Instagram with the little heart emoji, when you click onto that, you see all the messages anyways, who liked my post, who liked my story, who liked my reel. You know, I don't need to get a message for 1 like or 5 likes, whatever. Then also for Instagram for me, but you can use that for any other app you're struggling with, is the 1 second app. I think it's actually called 1 sec. And I saw this somewhere. And basically, when you open an app that you set this feature for, it will make you pause for a second and take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And then it shows you how often you try to access the app in the past 24 hours. And it's good to see sometimes. And most of the times it keeps me off of the app. Like I'm seeing, okay, somebody messaged me or something, and I click, and then this comes up, and then I'm like, okay, actually it's not that important to check right now. And I'll check actually, I don't know, hours later, whenever something really important comes up, and then I'll look at all my messages together. So that's really nice. I can recommend the app. There's a free version and there's a paid version, which has some other features where you can, I think, like solve puzzles or other things to access the app. But the free version is just fine. I've had it for over a month now, and I really like it. Then, my next tip is to have a dedicated place away from your workplace to leave your phone, or to even leave it at home. Let's say you have your office at home, I don't know, and you should be working from 9 to 5, then it could probably be helpful to leave your phone in a kitchen drawer where you put it each morning. Maybe you want to check something in the morning and then you put it there, and in lunch break, if you need to, you can go and look at it, and then you're putting it back there. It helps a lot to not see the phone. If it's laying on your desk, you are much likelier to reach for it and just, I'll check 5 minutes, and I don't know, half an hour has passed or something like that. So that would be good to just put it somewhere else. And if you're going to your favorite coffee shop, to the library, something like that, try leaving your phone at home if you're working on something. I'm not good at this. I like to have my phone because it's so convenient sometimes, just to, I don't know, pay things or just have it. And I know it's not that important, and I'm trying to leave it if I don't really need it, and if I know which coffee I'm going to, and I'll not get lost. I mean, most of the time I like to have my phone for Google Maps, which is my lifesaver. But if I know I'm going to the coffee down the street, it doesn't matter. You know, I can leave it at home, and I would encourage you to try that too. Just bring your laptop, bring a notebook, whatever you need, and leave the phone back at home. Then, we already talked about like the 1 second app, but there's also built-in features where you can put a maximum of screen time. This can be, I mean, for Instagram, for me, half an hour would probably make sense, so I can work on some content, but I'll not spend a whole afternoon doom scrolling on Reels. And once the half hour has passed, I know for TikTok, I've put it to like 10 minutes. And then you'll get a reminder like, hey, 10 minutes are over and you should not be using TikTok anymore today. The problem with this is that you can actually, you're putting a code. So some days you'll need to use Instagram for more than half an hour. And you can just type in the code if you need an additional 15 minutes, or you can even disable if you're like, okay, but I'll need to work on something really content batching for 2 hours now. Then you can even disable it again with the code. And this is it's a big trap, because I remember, and I spoke about this with a lot of friends, when you put a code for TikTok, let's say, and you're just on one TikTok and it's really interesting, like all of them are, and you're just like, oh, I just want to watch this one and then I'll be off the app again. So you type the code and then you're in the app again, and that's about it. And then you're scrolling for another 15 minutes until the screen comes up again. And yeah, then somehow it doesn't help that much. And I've heard people saying things like, oh, but I'm typing the code automatically by now. Like, it doesn't even help anything anymore. And that's not what it should be. So if you catch yourself doing that, if you already have that, change your code. That would be the first thing. Or even better, let somebody else type the code so you don't know it. And in worst case scenarios, if you really need it, you can probably just call that friend of yours and ask for the code. So I think that's good when you don't know the code. And at first, the feature is really handy, because you can scroll on TikTok for half an hour and it feels like 2 minutes. And when the screen comes up, at least you know, oh, I've spent 10 minutes now. And if you type the code and you add up, and then, I don't know, it helps something. It's just better when you don't know the code. So you cannot prolong your time on the app, actually. When you realize that you have been doom scrolling, and sometimes it's like that, when you're laying in bed and it's been an hour on TikTok, and you're like, okay, now somehow my evening is wasted anyways. Then, to me, it sometimes happens that I'm like, oh, now it's already been so much time. It doesn't matter if I spend all night watching TikToks, which is not healthy and not good and not where we want to go. So once you realize that you've been doom scrolling, this might be 15 minutes, this might be 2 hours. The first thing you should be doing is to get up. Just remove yourself from the space that you're in right now, whether it's, your bed or the couch or wherever you're sitting. Get up and just leave. Do something. Just grab a glass of water, something. Hydrate, I don't know. And I've heard that it can be really helpful to have like a habit that breaks the cycle. Like when I'm realizing, okay, I've scrolled on TikTok for 15 minutes, I'll physically get up, leave the room, and drink a glass of water. But you could also do, I don't know, take a shower. You could go for a run. Something, anything, just one habit that you always do. Leave your phone back, and just doesn't have to be long. You could be stretching, doing yoga, anything, everything. something, just not on your phone. And I think it's really good. And then maybe you can, if you need to use your phone again later on, you'll not be on TikTok anymore because you broke the cycle at least. Yes. Even better, maybe, to put your phone away. We've talked about putting your phone in a place somewhere, in a dedicated place. Maybe do that too. Like, grab your phone, get up, put it in the kitchen drawer, grab a glass of water, and do something else. Go grab your notebook, leave the house, go to your favorite coffee shop, write the chapter that you wanted to write all evening. You got this. Okay, and at last, we have mindset shift. Because I feel like some of us, most of us, have tried like to delete an app and never use it again. And I remember, I don't know how often I deleted TikTok actually, a lot of times. And then it works for about 3 days and then I re-download it and it's even worse. It's like when you're doing a diet and you're not eating for a day and then the next day you're binge eating, it's not good. And it didn't work for me either. So I think deleting an app can possibly, it doesn't work for many of us forever. Let's say it like that. For some, it might work for a month. For some, for an hour. You don't know. I just find myself re-downloading apps time and time again. So 2 things that I find way better than to delete an app. First, you can, I'm not sure if this works on Android too, but on Apple, you can at least remove the app from the home screen, so it's not there anymore. And you can even disable it in the sidebar, however you call it, where you can see all your apps. So you have to really type in the name into the search bar to find the app, which is helpful because every friction is good in that case. Like you want to, it must be really, really hard to access the app. And the second tip would be to log out of your current account and create a new one, because then the algorithm is, it's not working for a long time. I remember deleting TikTok I got a new phone and I downloaded TikTok and I didn't have my old account data. It's so old that I don't remember the password anymore and I'm not even sure of the email. So instead, I made a new TikTok account, which was originally planned for Big Sister chats, but I never uploaded videos so far because I'm trying to work with Instagram now and Reels. But this was really good in the beginning because I didn't use TikTok at all, and I was scrolling a bit on like my feed, but it was nothing, the TikTok algorithm at first is really shit. And it took some time, I don't know, I think via app tracking or something, or you never know. And then it picked up that I'm into Harry Potter somehow, and then my home screen was a lot of like Marauders, which is the era of Harry Potter's parents actually, and that was really interesting. And yeah, so I think it's also interesting to see how these work, and my home screen looks different from before now, and it's also way better because I'm trying to go with all these, basically like the podcast is physical well-being, mental health, I'm going in that direction, and it's also helping for the podcast. But at the same time, it's not as addicting as it was before, and I don't find myself scrolling as much anymore. And I didn't scroll for a long time now. I think it's been a few months since. I mean, I had TikTok on my home screen, and let's say on average per week was not more than 10 minutes. I didn't use the app at all. And now I've had one day where I've spent, let's say, 2 hours on there because I went down a rabbit hole. But it's okay, it was like one day now out of 3 months, something like that. And that's much better than it was before. And what's also good, if you log into a new account, if you create a new account and you keep the old one, at least I remember for TikTok, if you deleted the app off of your phone, all your drafts were gone. And that was really sad for me because sometimes the app would malfunction and I just had to delete and reinstall. And then you basically had lost all of your drafts. And when you create a new account, at least they should still be there, and make an effort to really log out of the old account, because for Instagram, it's really easy to switch between accounts. On the bottom right corner, you're just double tapping on the profile picture and you're switching accounts. So it could be really easy to just open the app and switch accounts and then everything stays the same, and that's not the goal. So log out of the old account, create a new one, see that the Instagram or TikTok algorithm is shit, and leave again. And just stay off the app. Okay. Another thing I really wanted to say is don't be mad at yourself. I mean, I just told you I spent 2 hours on TikTok and I didn't feel so bad because I know, and you should know too, these apps are designed to be addicting and to keep you there as long as possible. So, many people have a problem and struggle with screen time and social media apps and all of that. So, again, don't be mad at yourself. For me, a big game changer is actually planning my evenings. Because if I don't have any plans for the evening, like let's say my friends now in summer, they are all on holidays and I'm basically alone here. So if I don't have anything to do, it's really easy to just sit down and watch videos all evening, But I have a Sunday reset, so each Sunday I'll sit down and I plan my week ahead. And then I'll schedule, like, okay, on Monday I want to write a new chapter of my novel, which I cannot tell you about. And on Tuesday I'll write the script for Big Sister Chats. On Wednesday I'll go shopping something. On Thursday I'm recording. On Friday I'll do something for the short movie, whatever. And this I'm doing for each evening at least. Or I might even plan, okay, on Thursday I know I'm meeting with this friend of mine and we're going to do this and that, whatever. So that's really important to me so that I have a plan and to also keep going. I think my personal projects would just be stuck if I didn't have a plan. And I have so many projects that I want to work on. And then it's really hard sometimes to choose and then I'm doing nothing. So it's good to just, okay, and now I've spent an hour writing. Now I'm done and now I can do whatever, And there's not so much time in a day anyways if you're working full time or studying, or both, maybe working and studying, or you have children, whatever. There's not so much time. So actually taking some time to work on projects feels really good. And I mean, if I'm done, if I have written one chapter and it's only 7, maybe I'll write another one, you know? But if I decide after that chapter, okay, but now I want to scroll on Instagram for half an hour, I won't be mad at myself because I achieved something for me, which is not work, not what brings me money, but what brings me joy, or possibly, who knows how many books I'll sell one day, but I'll only sell these books if I write the book, that's helpful. And so that's my last tip, actually. So we'll go into recap and into the key takeaways. So first, do an audit. Put your phone in grayscale mode. Put your phone in work mode between whatever. For me, 7 to 4, but whatever you prefer when your work hours are. Download the 1 second app or 1 sec app. I'm always saying it wrong. Then have a dedicated place to put your phone when you're working, or leave it at home. Put maximum screen time for certain apps, and if you can, let somebody else pick the code. Don't delete the app, create a new account, and plan what you're going to do instead. If you want to work on a project, for example, and you're doing, let's take it again. I know I'll do a writing sprint, and writing sprints you're normally doing like 25 or 50 minutes with 10-minute breaks. So let's say I want to do a 50-minute writing sprint. I will take my phone, and I'm not sure how this app is called actually right now, something like Forest or something, but there's 100,000 Pomodoro timers out there, and these timers also keep you off of your phone for a certain time. I personally don't like them, which is why I didn't include them, because I'll have the timer on my phone and I'll check my phone multiple times to see how much time is left. So it doesn't work for me, but it might work for you, because these apps, they're like blocking all messages, and just if you leave the app, I think you're growing like a tree while you're using the app, and let's say 50 minutes, and after 50 minutes you have one virtual tree. And if you leave the app, that tree will die. So it prevents you from going to other apps like Instagram or TikTok or whatever you don't want to access. So might be useful for you, doesn't work for me. If I need a timer, I'll rather put it on my laptop. But I'm not really good at working with Pomodoro timers anyway. So that's that. Okay. This was my guide on reducing screen time, so you can actually use your time wisely, because we all have the same 24 hours. I hope you liked this episode. If this helped you in any way, I would love for you to help me by subscribing to this channel, to this podcast, and leave a rating on your favorite podcast app. Be sure to head over to Instagram to podcast_Big Sister Chats for some. This is actually really not a good ending for an episode about reducing screen time. Anyways, still, if you want, follow me on Instagram. I'm posting some content, some behind the scenes of the episodes, and also some mindset and all of the tips. Yeah, about physical and mental health and growing in life. And yeah, just follow and then go off the app again so you can reduce your screen time. You got this. See you in the next one. Bye.